Welcome back, Wildcat Nation, to episode 10 of season 7. I'm Abby Harvey with Isaac Wolf, and today we are spotlighting the softball team. We will be joined by junior Courtney Thomas and freshman Whitney Waddell.
Thomas is second on the team in batting average, batting .489. She has batted at least .315 in each of her seasons as a Wildcat and was named a Daktronics Scholar Athlete in 2024. Waddell is leading the Crossroads League in stolen bases, going 20 for 20 so far this year. She is third on the team in batting average, tied for second in hits, second in doubles, and first in runs scored.
Before we get started, here's your Crossroads League Week in Review.
I'm Isaac Wolf with your Crossroads League Week in Review. In baseball, number 10 Taylor split their 4-game series with St. Francis last week. After losing the first two and falling down 1-0 in the third, the Trojans bounced back with 12 unanswered runs. In the fourth and final game, they found themselves down 3-1 after 2 innings. With the bases loaded, Ben Kennedy walked in a run, making it 3-2. Taylor pinch hit Riley Singleton, who came through with a 2-run single that gave Taylor the lead in the top of the third. They never looked back, winning 5-3. Their record now stands at 30-7 and 21-3 in conference. They are first in the Crossroads League standings and still the only team ranked nationally from the league. In softball, number 13 Indiana Wesleyan has had an abundance of rescheduled games, as their most recent game was last Thursday against Spring Arbor, who they swept. They play at Bethel on Friday and at Grace on Saturday before heading home for the home stretch of the regular season. Across the next 9 days, the Wildcats will play 12 games, as most of the rescheduled games are set to be played this week. Number 14 Marion swept Spring Arbor on Tuesday, although Spring Arbor gave them a run for their money in the second game, taking them to 9 innings before ultimately losing 8-7 in the extra frames. Olivia Stunkel improved her record to 15-0 on the mound this season, as the Knights hold a 1-game advantage over the Wildcats for the top spot in the conference. Both teams have plenty of opportunities in this next week and a half to take things up, so expect there to be a constant battle between the two for the rest of the season. In men's golf, number 14 Indiana Wesleyan put together a top 10 finish at the Roadrunner Classic, which had several NAIA top 25 teams. Sam Dykema led the Wildcats with a 4th-place individual finish. In women's golf, number 13 Indiana Wesleyan finished 4th out of 17 teams at the Music City Invitational. The Wildcats set a program record as a team through the first 18 holes with a .285. As for this week's Crossroads League Awards, the baseball player of the week is Brendan Phillips of Spring Arbor. Phillips sparked the Cougars lineup in a 4-game sweep of Bethel, hitting 512 at-bats and driving in 10 runs. The freshman homered twice, roped 2 doubles, and added a stolen base to go with 4 runs scored. The baseball pitcher of the week is Tyler Pappenbrock of Huntington. Pappenbrock tossed a complete game 2-hit shutout for Huntington in an 11-0 win at Goshen. The senior hurler fanned 11 and allowed just 3 base runners in the 7 innings of work. The softball player of the week is Shea Van Scoter of Goshen. Van Scoter had at least 1 hit and 1 RBI in all 4 of Goshen's games, leading the Maple Leafs to a trio of wins. Van Scoter hit .615 with 2 home runs and 8 RBI for the Goshen lineup. The softball pitcher of the week is Kinsey Mollenkoff of Huntington. Mollenkoff went 2-0 in the circle for Huntington, tossing a complete game shutout in Huntington's 2-1 upset of number 15 Indiana Wesleyan and allowing just 1 earned run in 12 innings. The sophomore finished the week with 12 strikeouts, a 0.58 ERA, and a 0.92 whip. The women's outdoor track and field track athlete of the week is Kylie Sauter of Grace. Sauter showed well for the Lancers at the Grand Valley State early meet, hitting the NAIA standard in the 1,500 meters with a time of 4 minutes and 28.96 seconds. Sauter finishes the top NAIA performer in the race and trailed only a trio of Notre Dame competitors. The women's outdoor track and field athlete of the week is Alicia Parker of Bethel. Parker took second place in the shot put at the Indiana Tech Open. The senior posted a distance of 13.06 meters. The men's outdoor track and field track athlete of the week is Eric Materna of Marion. Materna competed at the Ole Miss Invite, hitting A standards in the 400 meters and the 4x400 meter relay for Marion. The sophomore broke Marion's record with a time of 47.26 seconds in the 400 and posted the NAIA's best time of the year in the 4x4 relay. The men's outdoor track and field athlete of the week is Joey Rewarda of St. Francis. Rewarda turned in another strong performance in the pole vault for St. Francis, winning the event at the Jenna Strong Invitational with a mark of 5 meters. Rewarda currently ranks 2nd in the NAIA with that performance. The women's tennis player of the week is France Antizana of Indiana Wesleyan. Antizana won each of her 5 matches for the Wildcats, splitting 3 singles wins at number 1 and number 2, while going 2-0 at number 1 doubles for Indiana Wesleyan. And the men's tennis player of the week is Luis Cordoba of Grace. Cordoba was unbeaten in number 14 Grace's wins over Indiana Tech and Lawrence Tech. Cordoba went 2-0 at number 4 singles and 1-0 at number 3 doubles. That's all for this week with your Crossroads League Week in Review. I'm Isaac Wolf.
So to start things off, both of you are having very successful starts individually and as a team. How have you both been able to do that?
I would say honestly, we did a lot of scrimmaging in Troyer when we were indoors. So I think that prepared honestly our whole team just to be able to see live hitting, be able to attack pitches that we like, because we saw live hitting literally every single day in Troyer, which was good and it was different, but I think it's really shown through the way that we've been hitting as a team. Mentally, I think we did not honestly that much training, but this team is just like really mentally strong. Like, we don't have head cases, even though softball is a huge mental sport. I think we're all just very mentally strong. We've prepared, we've been hitting, and it's shown through the games and like individually and just as a team.
Yeah. I would say too, a big thing is just like keeping the culture and like what is that even called? Just keeping positivity and like keeping everything super lighthearted has been like a big thing. I think especially with a sport that's so mental, it's very important just to like keep it as positive as you can so nothing just collateral damage, you know?
How do you specifically keep it lighthearted?
I sing songs. I sing a lot of songs.
What songs?
Happy songs. Usually Specifically, usually like, some musicals. Those are usually pretty happy. Or some like oldies, like 60s, 70s vibes.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Big difference.
Keep it very happy.
Is that what you grew up listening to?
No. Just very lighthearted. It's great.
So for you specifically, as like kind of a follow-up to that question, were you expecting to step into the role of leadoff and starting shortstop as a freshman?
I was not. I kind of had a stroke on the bus when he said my name first. I literally was about to seize, but it's okay. We figured it out. So yeah.
How have you dealt with, do you feel any pressure?
Yeah.
How have you dealt with that besides your songs?
I just kind of try to give myself grace and know the people behind me are just incredible and they always have my back, so even if I fail, which happens a lot, they will pick me up and keep it going. So
how did you guys get into softball growing up, and were there also other sports that you played growing up?
I got into softball because my dad put us into it. I have 2 older sisters, and he always just decided that he wanted to put us into softball. So I always went to my older sister's practices, and I just was the younger child dragged around. So whether it was basketball, swim, softball, who knows what, I was probably doing it. But so that's how I got into softball specifically. And then it was just, I loved it and I kept playing it. And I played volleyball and basketball, but mainly it was always I was at softball practice if I was doing something.
Yeah, mine was kind of the same thing. Little sibling gets drug around everywhere. McKenna played, and so I just kind of played with her. I mean, even in 12U, I think it was 12U, I would just run for her team and just stuff like that. But I played basically any sport you could play. I played basketball and soccer, ran track, golfed at one point. I just do it all. Love sports.
So I know the softball recruiting process is a little different from other sports, and it starts so early. So how was your guys' recruiting process? How'd you end up here?
I always tell people they couldn't pay me to go through the recruiting process again. For softball, it's hard because you never know. You could have really good stats and you could be playing really bad teams. So it's hard for coaches to know, are you just playing really bad teams, or are you hitting 600, or are you hitting 300 against the top players in the country? So it's just a really hard balance for coaches. So my dad started sending me to camps when I was in 7th grade, even though there was no chance of me getting recruited. So it was always go to the camps, say hi to the coaches, send the emails, do the follow-up stuff. So it was just it felt like recruiting was honestly my job. And if I didn't do everything I needed to, I was in trouble with one of my parents.
Mm-hmm.
So for me, it was exhausting. And then I was actually one of the first camps I came to. And then I just kept coming back because of the environment and the culture of the team, and Coach Babs just being so personal with all the recruits afterwards. And then pretty much I chose IWU, and softball wasn't an opportunity for me. And it was during COVID that I figured out my whole identity was in softball. And I just really struggled with any type of failure, any type of hardships. And then my whole season was taken because of COVID, and I couldn't do anything but be mad at God and really go through it with me and him. So then I had to pretty much be okay, I'm going to IWU and I'm not playing softball. And then my parents were like, let's go to this last camp and get some closure. And I remember praying on the way there. I was just like, I don't want to wait the whole camp to figure out if like this is what I'm doing or not. So I was like, God, let Babs just talk to me right when I walk in and tell me like, you're not on the team or you are on the team. And like I walked in, he pulled me aside and was like, here's your spot. So it was just like a whole like identity changing type thing to prepare me to actually play college softball, because like once you get here, like your whole life revolves around it. And if I hadn't gone through that experience, then I wouldn't honestly be the player I am, because I'd be such a mental head case with things. So yeah.
I'm just a really indecisive person, so I honestly didn't even know if I wanted to go to college, let alone play a sport, let alone what sport I wanted to play.
She got options.
And so it was definitely a very late decisions for me. Like, I honestly didn't start going to camps till the summer of my junior year, which is like, past when everyone's already committed. So it was definitely just finding opportunities and taking them. So I went on a few visits and kind of didn't really feel anything with any of them. So it was just kind of, I let it just go into God's hands. I was like, okay, God, like, give me a sign of which one you want. And he kind of veered me away from different colleges. And then when I got to IWU, I really liked it. And then loved Babs, loved the facilities. Obviously, McKenna went here, so that helped a lot. Loved everyone here. But I kind of waited a long time and just waited for like that one last sign, and it came. I trusted God, and we're here now.
Walk us through a typical week of practice in season.
In season.
What does that look like?
So especially this season, rain and weather has sucked. So we usually play about 6 to 8 games a week, which is different than most sports. So a lot of people will play like a midweek game and then a Friday, Saturday. And recently we've been playing like Monday, Tuesday, Friday, Saturday. So then we have like a day or two here or there. So then when we do get to practice, it's very like feel good reps, work on like really important things that we're seeing in the game. But yeah, do you have anything else to add?
I feel like that's basically it. I mean, our practices now are just definitely feel good and like getting the small things right. And I mean, anything from like team dynamics of communication between infield and outfield, or just small little things in our like fielding or hitting. So
How does the schedule change from fall to winter to spring with that?
Fall is definitely, we just scrimmage on the weekends, and then it's practice heavy all week long. And then winter
It was, this year we had morning lifts twice a week, and then Troyer's schedule is weird with like track, baseball, and softball. So we'd practice 3 to 6, and the next day you practice 6 to 9, then back to 3 to 6, then 6 to 9, and then 5 a.m. practice on Fridays. And then everyone's like 5 a.m. practice, but then you have Friday night, Saturday, and Sunday off. Especially like getting ready for season, a lot of us get to go home then, spend time with our family. So it's a grind until like season starts, and then once season starts, practices are more like, let's not injure people while we're practicing because we're playing so many games. So
You mentioned the weather. How have you guys had to adjust? Obviously, you've rescheduled a ton of games, and you're going to play a lot these next 2 weeks. So what does that look like in terms of balancing that with school and just dealing with the constant change?
I think it's really just like staying ahead of it. I mean, it's really hard, but trying to get everything done way before your due dates, and just communication with professors, especially getting to like end of the year exams and projects and stuff, just making sure like you're on it with your professors.
yeah, I think a lot of times it can become like exhausting and mentally draining because you never know what the next day is going to bring you. But I think our team's really good at, when we're on the bus and we're getting ready to play, being like, we can't do anything about the schoolwork that we have coming. We have to come back to. Like right now, all we can do is play softball. So we're really good about just, like Whitney said, like keeping it lighthearted, having fun, and just fully embracing, like, we're here to play some softball. Let's leave the crap we have to deal with in the past, and we have to pick it back up when we get on the bus. But a lot of communicating with professors. I'm lucky enough to have like multiple girls that are in my major. So if we have to make up tests, we do it together and stuff like that. So I think we're we're pretty good about communicating ahead of times. Professors know softball is a rough season. So we're always just like, we're on the softball team. It gets really crazy. So I apologize in advance.
So you mentioned the 5 a.m.s. What is that? Or can you explain it?
You got this, freshman.
All right.
Trivia time.
So 5 a.m.s. We start them at 5:12 this year because that is the opening round date, right? Yep. So it's the date of the opening round, so we're just thinking about it now already. But usually we just play 6 innings of scrimmages, and yeah, that's basically it. We just go out and ball out.
We're up before our opponents, getting ready for that opening rounds.
With how successful that the program has been in all the years past, and like how high the team has been ranked, and like how far basically the team has come, has there been any pressure to live up to those expectations of past teams?
I personally think I felt the pressure in previous years more than this year, which maybe that's just because this year we have so many new faces, especially on the field. So I think we've been able to make the environment and the lightheartedness on the field whatever we wanted it to be, where in the past it's like we have veteran players on the field who know the intensity and know the drive. And we still have that intensity and drive when we need to, but also we're like goofing around every inning, smiling. And I think we've done good about trying to not make it like this weight over our head of you have to perform and like you have to reach the IWU softball standard.
Yeah. That's basically all I got too.
How do you think the program's been able to find so much success in all of the years basically under Coach Babs?
I feel like it's a big thing of just like keeping our faith first. Like we definitely do that. We have worship nights. We do like team prayers and all that, and just putting our trust in God before we put our identities into softball. So
yeah, I also just think honestly, Coach Babs is like what head coach is going to be as personal as Coach Babs is with recruiting. I also joke with some of the pitchers that like every pitcher we have is just like walked into his hands when he didn't even expect it, because like this year we have a transfer. Last year our 2 starting pitchers, one of them was supposed to go to a different college and the other one was coming to IWU and didn't even want to play softball. Like he's literally just had like these crazy, whether it's God moments or just coincidences of like these pitchers coming to IWU that he just didn't expect. But honestly, that's like his faithfulness to the Lord to then like make this team centered around Christ so that we can genuinely like embrace the both and of being like both on fire for God and good at our sport, so that we can, like Babs always says, that this world doesn't understand God, but the world understands winning. So if we win, if we get ourselves in a higher platform, we can use that platform to then spread the gospel and the good news to other people.
Courtney, with your individual success in postseason last year, how were you able to build off that and kind of carry that momentum into this year?
I think honestly, the beginning of my like career here was a lot of like disappointment in myself, just because I knew I wasn't performing to the standard I wanted to. So I think finally finding success and being like proud of myself, even though I don't really let myself be proud of myself very often, gave myself more confidence. Honestly, like so much of hitting is just confidence, of knowing like, which this may sound bad, like I am good. We are college athletes. There's a reason we're here. And just those like truths. And one thing that I really started holding on to last year was I'm a major overthinker. So like I get in the box and it's like 1,000 thoughts are going through my head. And I really started reading a book. It's called like Don't Let the Devil Have a Seat at Your Table or something like that. It's about just like letting the devil fill your mind with negative thoughts when like the Lord wants to have an intimate relationship with just you and him. And it talks about just filling your mind with like the truths of God, of like he's with you through it all, that he like has a plan for you, he's given you a purpose, and like filling my mind with those thoughts instead of the thoughts of like, I may mess up, I may not make Babs happy, I may not make my family happy, my family's traveling from so far to maybe watch me do super bad at softball, like all these negative things. It was honestly like a huge mental shift that I thought I had done, but it really wasn't until I had to go through the hard times of feeling like I was failing all the time to genuinely be like, something needs to change here because this is not fun right now.
What kinds of things does the team do for spiritual growth?
Chaplain.
Shout out Team Chaplain.
So on the team spiritual growth, Abby Harvey leads a small group with, I think it's a lot of like the freshmen that go to that. So she's definitely seen a lot of them grow, ask questions, just explore their faith. We usually try to do like once a month or so a worship night with the team, just so that we have room to just actually be vulnerable with each other, because a lot of times you get so busy and you forget to actually slow down and see your teammates as human beings and not just honestly opponents or whatever. So just seeing them more as sisters in Christ. But then like with other teams around us, like we write prayer cards, which I think challenges all of us to really dive into our own prayer life, because how are we supposed to like write a personal, genuine prayer card to another teammate that we are playing against if we aren't seeking the Lord and his guidance and what we should write to them. So we also love chapel and all of that. A lot of people go to the Compass go to Compass together, which is just allowing everyone like to have community on Sunday morning together, which is aside from like off campus, you're choosing to drive there and go fellowship with one another. Yeah.
We also do weekly Bible studies with the team now. So right now we're going through 1 Thessalonians. We went through Ephesians a few weeks ago. And then like during the winter, I forget what we called it, but it was kind of like directed prayer. So we would pray specifically for certain people and certain coaches, or
we called it
different
Jesus
situations.
time.
Yes, JT.
JT.
Yeah.
Yeah. We also did, what was your group called?
Soul Feast.
Yes. We did like
banquet or whatever he called
banquet
it.
and Soul Feast. Yeah. Harvey, I don't know if you want to explain your group, but our group, we did more of like, Babs literally passed out note cards and was like, write down any biblical or like faith-based questions you have. And from like, is divorce, like what does the Bible say about divorce? What does the Bible say about tattoos? What about drinking? What about dinosaurs? Like literally any random questions. And like Babs did like intense biblical research to not be like, this is right and this is wrong, but like here's a biblical perspective, and like do your own research, do your own digging, just to like answer those questions, because a lot of times I think people just have questions and they don't know where to go with them. But then there was Soul Feast.
We just read a spiritual discipline book and basically practiced spiritual disciplines every week. Wrote papers, and we all didn't like it. But then it was like actually good to reflect and really wrestle with ourselves writing papers. And Shrad had it single-spaced. But, we got through it. Oh, well, whatever. So you guys have both talked about like ways, or at least Courtney, you've talked about ways you've grown, and Whitney, you haven't been here for a whole season yet. But what would you guys say is your biggest takeaway of being a part of the IWU softball program? Or biggest way you've seen yourself grow?
I think it honestly goes back to like just playing free. I definitely have not had the best relationship with softball in the past, and coming here, I've definitely learned to like kind of put my faith into it, and then also just the relationships that I've built here have just helped me learn just play freely, and just to know like it's just a sport, like it's not your job, but it kind of is, but yeah, just do it for the fun and like for the glory of the Lord.
Yeah, I think genuinely learning that you can play softball in a way that can glorify God by just making people look in at IWU softball and see something different is something that I didn't really understand coming from a public high school, just because like I myself could possibly impact my own teammates, but like my team as a whole couldn't go on the field and cause people to be like, who's this God? And like ask questions. So I think just that of seeing that your faith can be simply just how you live your life and make people look in and see you different and ask questions and wonder why. And then also I think just this past year, I've really poured into the power of prayer, which is such a cliche saying and stuff. But I think for so long I put God in this box because I've prayed the prayers for years that I feel like haven't been answered. So then I get discouraged. And this past semester, I did consecration stuff with the teen chaplains. And like, it was just weekly, like pouring our hearts out to the Lord. and just seeing him answer prayers that I have never seen answered before, but just because I'm actually like setting aside a time to intentionally pray for my teammates and my family and the people that I love, and seeing things be answered when I felt like before I was kind of in a desert of like, I feel like I'm talking to a wall and nothing is happening right now. So I'd say those 2 areas where I've grown.
All right. Favorite memory from your time here. Go.
My freshman year, I was running out of the dugout.
I remember this one.
This was funny.
And it was like, I think it was my first start, and they said my name, and I ate it with my metal cleats on the concrete. Super funny moment, but that I think is one of my favorites. And then, sorry, I'm saying 2. And then my second, last year on the way home from Bethel, I literally just got done crying on the bus because I was like, we're only halfway through our season and I already feel so exhausted. And then our senior turned on the speaker and played worship music, and we just worshiped the whole way home. Like, we played songs. The bus was either people journaling or crying or working through whatever they needed to, but it was just like genuine, heartfelt worship. When I honestly needed it the most. And it wasn't like I went up to the senior and was like, I really need like a pick me up. It was just like a perfect God moment of like, let's pick up everyone who's feeling down right now. And it was just raw worship with my teammates. So
mine would probably just be like, it's not even just like the time outside of softball, but with the softball team, like, we've done a lot of just like community building kind of stuff, just like our pancake night. I always think about that. Like during the winter, we also sledded and just stuff like that. Just knowing like we're a family outside of softball, and that, yeah.
Great memories. If you want to see Courtney's fall, it's on IWU Wildcats in a hype video.
Yeah.
It's been kind of a tradition.
They made like a whole, like, they're playing music and then they like stopped the music. It was like, whoop, and I like fell right when it happened. So.
Hey, and then Briley did it the next couple.
Didn't one of our freshmen do it this year?
Yeah.
Who fell?
Was it Cheese? I think it was.
Probably.
It was definitely Cheese.
And then the last one of our games, OP and I ate it in the grass.
I got sniped.
I got sniped. Yeah. We may be athletic, but we may also not be very athletic. The most unathletic person I know. Yeah.
All right. Well, that's all we have. Thanks. And scene.
Bye.
Thanks, Wildcat Nation, for tuning in to episode 10 with IWU Softball's Courtney Thomas and Whitney Waddell. I'm Abby Harvey with Isaac Wolf here on Wildcat Week, presented by Amplify Media.